Avoid these 5 toxic people, even if they are family. Buddhist teachings. Introduction: the hidden influence of those around us. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the people closest to you are the very ones holding you back. It's not always easy to see, but as we grow older, the quality of our relationships determines the peace and fulfillment we experience in life. The Buddha once said, "Your own self is your master, who else could be?" This simple yet profound teaching reminds us that we alone are responsible for the environment we cultivate around us. As we navigate through life, we must learn not only to cherish those who uplift us but also to recognize and distance ourselves from those who drain our energy. But how do we identify such people? And more importantly, how can we protect our inner peace without guilt? In today's discussion, we explore 5 types of people to avoid in old age, even if they are family. By the end of this video, you may find yourself reassessing your relationships and making choices that align with your spiritual well-being. So stay with me until the end, because these insights could transform the way you approach your connections and ultimately bring more peace into your life. Now, let's begin. Manipulators, those who exploit compassion. Recognizing manipulators. In life, there are people who always take advantage of others' kindness for their personal gain. They do not ask for favors outright but gradually weave an emotional web of dependence, making us feel guilty when we refuse. This type of manipulation is particularly dangerous as we age, when we long for peace more than burdensome obligations. Take the life of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Despite his immense fame and fortune, he was surrounded by people who sought to drain his generosity. The Memphis Mafia consisted of individuals financially dependent on him, continuously taking advantage of his kindness without concern for the emotional exhaustion he endured. Toward the end of his life, he struggled with the fine line between benevolence and exploitation, proving that even the strongest souls can fall victim to manipulators. The Buddhist perspective and how to respond. A full vessel is filled drop by drop. The Buddha taught that compassion must be balanced. We cannot keep giving without preserving ourselves. A true practitioner must understand that genuine compassion is not weakness nor submission to manipulation. If compassion is not accompanied by wisdom, it becomes a tool for others to exploit. The Buddha always taught that compassion is not about carrying the weight of the world but about helping others within the limits that allow us to maintain our own inner peace. Signs of a manipulator. 1. They make you feel obligated to help them constantly. They create the illusion that if you do not help, you are heartless and selfish. 2. They are never truly grateful. A manipulator may say thank you, but they will quickly return with more demands. 3. They make you feel guilty for saying no. They use words and tactics that make you feel like a bad person for refusing them. 4. They exploit your trust and kindness. They may appear vulnerable and in need, but their true intention is to take advantage of you. 5. They never change or grow from your help. Those who genuinely need assistance will seek independence when given the opportunity, whereas manipulators will continue to cling to you. How to protect yourself. 1. Learn to say no without guilt. Refusing to help does not mean you lack compassion. A wise person knows when to give and when to step back. 2. Recognize your self-worth. You are not obligated to solve everyone's problems. Each person is responsible for their own karma. 3. Set boundaries. If someone continuously drains your energy, learn to step away. Keeping your distance is not selfish, it is self-preservation. 4. Practice mindfulness. Awareness is the key to recognizing manipulation. When you live mindfully, you are less likely to be drawn into emotional games. The wisdom of enlightenment. In the Sutra of 42 chapters, the Buddha taught, doing good is not about seeking repayment from others, but about finding peace within oneself. However, doing good without wisdom only leads to self-inflicted suffering. True compassion is not about giving unconditionally to the point of harming oneself. Like a skilled doctor, we should offer medicine only when the patient truly needs it and can benefit from it. If someone keeps taking medicine but refuses to heal, are we not enabling their weakness? The teachings of Jesus. Jesus also said in Matthew 10:16, "Be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves." This statement holds profound meaning. We can be kind and compassionate, but we must not allow ourselves to become victims of manipulators. A compassionate heart must always be paired with sharp wisdom. The path to liberation. In this life, we will all encounter manipulators. But if we learn to preserve our energy and protect our hearts, we will no longer be controlled by worldly attachments. 1. Let go of guilt. Oh, guilt is the weapon of manipulators. They want you to believe that refusing them makes you a bad person. But the truth is, setting boundaries is an act of self-care. 2. Establish healthy boundaries. Oh, do not let your kindness be exploited. Set clear limits and stand by them. 3. See things with wisdom. Oh, when someone keeps asking for help without making an effort to improve, ask yourself, am I truly helping them, or am I enabling their weakness? Conclusion. True compassion is not about being taken advantage of, it is about bringing peace to both ourselves and others. A truly compassionate person does not just give fish, they teach others how to fish. If we continue to give without guiding others toward independence, we are not helping, we are harming them. Remember, compassion must go hand in hand with wisdom. Help others, but do not forget to help yourself. Do not let your kindness become a gateway for manipulators. Ultimately, only by protecting ourselves can we truly offer sustainable help to others. 2. The egotistical, those who never listen. Identifying an egotistical person. An egotistical person does not genuinely care about your existence unless it serves their ego. Conversations with them are often one-sided, where your thoughts, feelings, and experiences become invisible. Have you ever felt like a shadow in a conversation with someone? Everything you say seems to drift away like the wind, while they merely wait for their turn to talk about themselves. This is nothing new. Throughout history, narrow-minded individuals who only focus on themselves have always existed. They often draw others into their vortex, intentionally or unintentionally turning those around them into mere tools for elevating their own self-importance. The story of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, a genius forgotten in a noisy world full of those who only cared about their own interests. He was surrounded by investors and businessmen, but none of them truly listened to him. They did not see him as a wise visionary but merely as a means to achieve their financial goals. Many of Tesla's groundbreaking inventions were ignored by people who only cared about their own success. His brilliant ideas were buried under the selfishness and lack of attention from the wealthy elite. In the world of egotistical individuals, creativity and truth are often disregarded because they only value what directly benefits them. The Buddha's perspective on egotistical people. The Buddha taught, "A fool who recognizes his own ignorance is wiser than a fool who thinks he is wise." This reminds us that recognizing our own limitations is the first step toward wisdom. Egotistical individuals, immersed in their own self-importance, never allow themselves the space to acknowledge such things. In many of his teachings, the Buddha spoke about people who focus only on themselves without regard for others. One well-known story tells of a man who lived in arrogance, believing himself to be the center of the universe. He loved talking about himself, boasting about his knowledge and wealth. But when he met the Buddha, The Buddha simply smiled and remained silent. The man asked why he did not respond, and the Buddha said, "If someone brings you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "Of course, it still belongs to the giver." The Buddha then said, "Likewise, if someone brings you words of arrogance, self-conceit, or meaningless talk, and you do not accept them, then they remain with that person. You do not need to carry that burden." This story reminds us that we do not need to engage in meaningless conversations with those who only talk about themselves. We have the choice not to accept their negative energy. How to deal with an egotistical person? Egotistical people can be found everywhere, in families, workplaces, and social relationships. So how do we protect our inner peace while dealing with them? 1. Redirect the conversation. When you realize a conversation is becoming one-sided, gently shift the topic. Ask thought-provoking questions that encourage two-way discussion. What do you think about the importance of listening to others? Have you ever felt like you weren't being heard? 2. Seek meaningful relationships. There are always people around us who genuinely care, listen, and appreciate your value. Invest your time and energy in them. Do not be afraid to walk away from toxic relationships. You are not obligated to continue engaging with people who only see you as a tool to boost their self-image. 3. Limit your energy on one-sided conversations. Instead of exhausting yourself with conversations that bring no value, learn to walk away. If someone is not truly listening, gracefully but firmly end the conversation. Wisdom from the Bible and great thinkers. James 1:19 states, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." This reminds us of the importance of listening. A truly wise person listens more than they speak. Confucius also taught, "He who listens will learn, and he who learns will be taught." Egotistical people, because they only care about their own voice, miss out on many valuable lessons. Conclusion. Egotism is not just a communication issue, it is a spiritual lesson. In life, we cannot change others, but we can change how we respond to them. Choose to protect your energy, focus on meaningful relationships, and avoid getting trapped in the cycle of those who only care about themselves. Remember, the world is vast, and there are many people who are willing to listen to you. Do not let those who refuse to listen diminish your worth. 3. The critics, lessons from Buddhist teachings. Identifying a critical person. In life, everyone will encounter those who constantly criticize. They disguise themselves as well-meaning individuals, but their words are not meant to build others up, they are meant to tear others down. They point out flaws, shortcomings in our decisions, appearance, and lifestyle, often planting seeds of doubt. But do they truly want to help us improve? The story of criticism, a lesson from Abraham Lincoln. Even the greatest figures in history have not been spared from harsh criticism. Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most revered presidents, was also a victim of relentless ridicule. He was mocked for his rough appearance, high-pitched voice, and even his political decisions were often dismissed. But Lincoln did not allow criticism to dictate his actions. He did not live to please others, he focused solely on doing what was right. Because of this, he successfully led the United States through the brutal Civil War and left behind a profound legacy. The Buddhist perspective on criticism. The Buddha taught, "A wise person is not hurt by criticism, nor is he swayed by praise." When someone throws an arrow at us, if we do not catch it, it simply falls to the ground, harmless. Criticism works the same way, it can only hurt us if we allow it to penetrate our minds. How to deal with critical people. 1. Detach emotionally from criticism. When someone attacks you, observe their words with calm detachment. Where do these words come from? Are they constructive feedback or merely expressions of anger and envy? Remember that your value is not defined by others' judgments. 2. Understand the source of the criticism. Whether criticism holds any real value depends on who is speaking. Words born from hatred are not worth your concern. However, if the feedback comes from someone sincere, reflect on it and use it for personal growth. 3. Create distance if necessary. If someone continuously criticizes you in a negative way, you have the right to step away. There is no rule that obligates you to absorb toxic energy. 4. Maintain inner peace. A peaceful mind is not easily shaken by praise or blame. Stay focused on your own journey instead of being swayed by the judgments of others. A Zen story, the Buddha and the Slanderer. One day, a malicious man approached the Buddha and began insulting him relentlessly. Yet, the Buddha remained silent, his compassionate gaze unwavering. After some time, the man became frustrated and asked, "Why do you not get angry when I insult you?" The Buddha smiled and responded, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "Of course, it still belongs to the giver." The Buddha nodded, "Exactly. In the same way, if someone offers me insults, but I do not accept them, then they remain with that person." Wisdom from the Bible. The Bible teaches, "Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye, but fail to notice the beam in your own?" Luke 6:41. People are often quick to point out others' faults while remaining blind to their own. Before judging someone, one must first look inward and reflect on themselves. Conclusion: learning to stay at peace amidst criticism. Life will always be filled with both praise and criticism, but a wise person does not get caught in the storm. They understand that criticism often reflects more about the speaker than the one being criticized. Instead of reacting negatively, choose to smile, let go, and continue walking your own path. For the irresponsible, those who drain your energy. Identifying irresponsible people. At some point in life, we all encounter people who constantly rely on others for help instead of standing on their own. These individuals refuse to take responsibility for their own lives, habitually depending on the kindness of others to solve their problems. No matter how much we help them, they continue making the same mistakes, only to return and seek support once again. These are the people who drain your energy, the irresponsible ones. The story of Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway, one of America's greatest writers, was not only known for his literary masterpieces but also for his tragic life. Despite earning substantial wealth from his writing, Hemingway often faced financial difficulties because he could not refuse those who asked to borrow money. These people, despite making endless promises, never repaid their debts. They only sought him out when they needed something and disappeared when he himself was in distress. In his later years, Hemingway lived in solitude and financial hardship, having been drained both emotionally and financially by people who refused to take responsibility for their own lives. The Buddhist perspective, the story of the farmer and the drowning man. In one of his teachings, the Buddha shared a story about a farmer who was rowing his boat across a river when he saw a man struggling in the water, on the verge of drowning. The farmer quickly extended his hand to save him. However, instead of allowing himself to be rescued, the drowning man panicked and clung to the farmer, desperately trying to climb on top of him, nearly pulling them both under. The farmer realized that if he continued trying to save the man in this manner, he himself would be dragged down. So, he let go, allowing the man to struggle on his own. Only when the man calmed down did the farmer pull him to safety. This story carries a profound lesson. Helping others does not mean allowing them to cling to us. If we do not recognize our own limits, we may be pulled under along with them. How to deal with irresponsible people. 1. Guide them, don't blindly save them. Oh, irresponsible people do not need someone to solve their problems for them, they need someone to guide them in the right direction. Oh, if you do everything for them, you only encourage their dependence. Show them how to resolve their own issues instead of doing it for them. 2. Recognize your own limits. Oh, you cannot pour into someone else's cup when your own is empty. Oh, if you have helped them multiple times and they still refuse to change, step back. Oh, you are not obligated to sacrifice your health, mental well-being, or finances for those who refuse to take responsibility for themselves. 3. Practice compassion with boundaries. Oh, love does not mean unconditional sacrifice. Oh, the Buddha taught that compassion must be accompanied by wisdom. Oh, if we help someone without considering whether our help is truly necessary, we are enabling their irresponsibility. Oh, help with a clear mind, not with blind sympathy. Spiritual wisdom on responsibility. The Dhammapada states, by oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone, by oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself, no one can purify another. This means that each person must take responsibility for their own karma. If we continuously carry the burdens of others, we are merely delaying the lessons they need to learn. Allowing them to experience consequences may be the best way for them to truly change. A lesson from nature, the baby bird. In life, there are those who refuse to grow, who refuse to take responsibility. We may care for them, but we should not let them cling to us indefinitely. A baby bird will never learn to fly if it is constantly fed without effort. Conclusion. In a world full of irresponsible people, we must learn to love without allowing ourselves to be exploited. Helping does not mean doing everything for someone. Loving does not mean sacrificing unconditionally. Compassion must be paired with wisdom. Only when we remain strong within ourselves can we truly help those who deserve it and bring real change to the world. Be the ungrateful, when kindness goes unrewarded. 1. The seeds of kindness. One day, as the Buddha was traveling on his journey of teaching, he stopped under an ancient tree. A woman approached him, crying, "Blessed One, I have spent my entire life helping others, yet in the end, they turned their backs on me. Some even mocked and criticized me. Why is this so?" The Buddha looked at her with compassion and gently replied, "Do you see that mango tree over there? When its fruit ripens, people come to pick and enjoy its sweetness. But when the tree grows old and bears no more fruit, they abandon it, some even cut it down for wood. Understand that there are those who only value you when they receive something from you. But when they no longer benefit, they leave without a second thought." The woman lowered her head, tears falling on her wrinkled hands that had spent years sacrificing for others. At that moment, she realized that kindness is like planting a seed. Not every seed will sprout, and not every tree will bear sweet fruit. 2. A lesson from the life of Marie Curie. More than 2,000 years later, humanity continues to witness similar stories. One of the most striking examples is the life of the great scientist Marie Curie. She dedicated her life to researching radioactivity, making discoveries that saved millions of lives. Yet, in return, she faced rejection and isolation from the very scientific community that benefited from her work. After discovering the elements radium and polonium, Curie became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. But instead of being celebrated, she was attacked and discriminated against by those who reaped the benefits of her findings. The Scientific Council denied her a professorship at the University of Sorbonne simply because she was a woman. Even when she won her second Nobel Prize, many still dismissed her contributions. Marie Curie was undeterred by the world's ingratitude. She continued her research, ultimately sacrificing her health and life for science. Her story proves that kindness and dedication are not always met with gratitude, but the wise do not let that discourage them. 3 Buddhist teachings on ingratitude. In one of his past lives, the Buddha was a great turtle living by a riverbank. One day, he saw a scorpion struggling in the water and decided to carry it on his back to save its life. But as they neared the shore, the scorpion unexpectedly stung him. When asked why, the scorpion simply replied, "It is in my nature." From this story, the Buddha taught that not everyone responds to kindness with gratitude. Some people only know how to take, never giving back. Like a bottomless vessel, no matter how much water you pour in, it will never be full. So what should we do? The Buddha offered 3 teachings. 1. Give where it is deserved, like sowing seeds in fertile soil instead of on rocky ground. 2. Do not expect repayment. True kindness should not come with conditions, as that leads to suffering. 3. Know when to let go. When kindness becomes a burden or when we are being exploited, we must be wise enough to stop. 4. Applying this wisdom in life. There was a man named Andy who lived in a poor village. He always helped his neighbors, giving them whatever they needed. But when he faced hardship, no one stood by him. Disappointed and angry, he decided he would never help anyone again. One day, he visited a temple and shared his story with an old monk. The monk simply smiled and handed Andy a candle. "Light this candle and see what happens." Andy did as instructed. The candle burned brightly for a while, but then a gust of wind blew it out. The monk asked, "Why did it go out?" "Because of the wind," Andy replied. "Do you blame the candle?" the monk asked again. "No, because that is just nature," Andy said. The monk nodded. "Exactly. Your kindness is like this candle. Sometimes, it is extinguished by ingratitude, but that does not mean you were wrong to light it." Hearing this, Andy finally understood. He no longer felt bitter about the ungratefulness of others. Instead, he chose to share his kindness only with those who truly valued it. 5 Final thoughts. Keeping a pure heart in an imperfect world. There is a saying, "Gratitude is like flowing water. Those who cherish it will be fulfilled, those who do not will be left empty." When faced with ungrateful people, do not let them drain your kindness. Remember, give without expecting return. It nourishes the compassion within you. Kindness must be guided by wisdom. If you are being exploited, know when to stop. Life is ever changing. Do good, but do not seek recognition. Kindness, like a lotus flower, rises from the mud yet remains pure and fragrant. Do not let the ingratitude of others wither the goodness in your heart. Conclusion: your inner circle shapes your future. As we reflect on the people we allow into our lives, we must ask ourselves, are these relationships nourishing our soul or draining our energy? The Buddha's teachings remind us that peace is not something we stumble upon, it is something we create. And one of the greatest acts of self-care is choosing relationships wisely. If you found value in today's discussion, take a moment to like this video. It lets us know that this content resonates with you. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing so that you never miss future insights that can guide you toward a more peaceful and mindful life. Also, share this video with someone who might need these reminders. Sometimes, a simple shift in awareness can change everything. Before we go, I'll leave you with one final thought. The road to inner peace isn't about isolation, but about choosing who walks beside you. So, who will you keep in your journey? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video where we explore another profound lesson from Buddhist wisdom. Until then, may you walk your path with clarity and serenity.